alguien que te haga feliz.
Get it going. My name is Sofía. I am tuning in from LA, though I live in Phoenix. I go by she, ella. I'm a director of recruitment at Mijente, which is a political home for Latinx, Chicanx people across the US and Puerto Rico who are pro-Black, pro-queer, pro-mujer, pro-working class, pro-web want, and to make that change happen, right, as community, first and foremost. And my internet might be a little unstable, so bear with me. And just give me a heads up on the chat if that's the case, and I'll repeat anything that I need to. But we are so excited to host this poetry salon in partnership with LatiNext and all the poets who were featured in that anthology. We appreciate our hosts, Melissa, José, who are here with us tonight, and every poet that will be sharing palabra. This is an opportunity to share about Mijente, to share about why we exist, and to invite you all, if you are Latinx, Chicanx, to become a member and join our political home. We offer political education, trainings, but most of all, a national community of Latinx, Chicanx people who are organizing on the ground, who are cultural workers, who are artists, who are all kinds of beautiful people with beautiful, powerful talents. And so we encourage you all to plug in, throw down where you can, where you would like to, in order to make our movement stronger and more powerful. This is the time, and we cannot wait for anybody else to do this work for us, right? We have to throw down together. So that's a little bit of why Mijente exists. We'll be sharing a little bit more later on, and I'll be sharing more links in the chat. If you would like to learn more about Mijente, you can visit our website, mijente.net, and learn more about our campaigns there. But with that, se lo voy a pasar a Melissa to get us going. José and Melissa to get us going with the event. So ahí se los paso.
Cool. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I'm super excited to be hosting this with José. I've been really inspired by the work Mijente has done. I'm really proud to be a member. I'm really proud to be a part of LatiNext. I think it's the really like one of the most dynamic collections of Latinx literature that I've ever seen, and I'm super pumped to hear the poets who are featured in it tonight. José, do you want to speak on it a little more?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, welcome everybody. I'm really excited to be here tonight with Mijente. I just joined Mijente, and so I wanted to say that I'm excited to be a part of the organization. One of the things that I've been thinking about is, whether or not Latinidad is a useful concept to organize around, you know what I mean? And I want to be honest about those questions. And I think if we are going to be organizing, like if we are going to organize around Latinidad, then it's important that from the beginning, we not recreate the same harms of, white institutions that already exist, right? If Latinidad is just going to be another white identity, then it is bullshit and it is garbage, and I don't want to be a part of that, right? So all that to say that I'm really hyped to be here. I'm really excited. Tonight you will hear from Kyle Lopez, Sofía Snow, Gabriel Cortez, John Murillo, Amanda Alcántara. And to get us started, we're gonna have my co-host read a poem. So let me just say real quick, if you are interested in buying a copy of LatiNext, you can get it directly from Haymarket Books. The web address is haymarketbooks.org, and you can find LatiNext there. And without any further delay, y'all, please, wherever you are, put your hands together for Melissa Lozada-Oliva.
Yeah, yes, invisible hands. Okay, cool. Thanks so much, José. I'm gonna read a poem that is in LatiNext. It's called Petition to Get All White Girls to Stop Wearing Hoop Earrings. This poem is kind of about like being othered, but also contending and reckoning with my own whiteness. So yeah, I would like to read it. Okay, petition to get all white girls to stop wearing hoop earrings. There's a petition to get all white girls to stop wearing hoop earrings. I didn't know this was a thing except when I think about it being a thing. like when I rejected my hoops and my backpack once in the middle of the school day because I thought I heard someone say a slur I was sure was over. My lover told me about this, showed me the article, the comments, the thread. He has big holes in his ears left over from gauges. They're in the shape of little screaming mouths. Last summer, he threw the earrings into the ocean because he told me white people ruin everything. Even though all of the girls he chose to really love are named Lauren or Haley, I say this like my name isn't Melissa, like my name couldn't wrap itself securely around Lauren's neck or Haley's wrist, like it couldn't slide itself neatly through any of their earlobes and hang there all day belonging. Thank you. Okay, so I think I'm gonna introduce the first poet. Yes. Okay, the first poet we have is Kyle Lopez. Kyle Carrero Lopez is a Black Cuban American poet. He lives in Brooklyn and reads poetry submissions for Homology Lit. His poetry is published or forthcoming in the journal Poetry, the Cincinnati Review, Hobart, and other journals, as well as in the anthologies BreakBeat Poets, LatiNext, and Grabbed, Beacon Press 2020. You can follow him at Kyle Lopez everywhere. The last E is a 3, Kyle Lopez. Okay, without further ado, Kyle Lopez, take it away.
All right, hi y'all. Thank you, Melissa. And also, I want to thank Melissa, Jose, Jonathan, and Willie for the invite. And thank you to Sofía and everyone at Mijente for this. I'm really excited about this, and I'm really honored to be here. So I'll just jump right into it. I got 3 joints for y'all. Cyber breath. My parents couldn't believe I asked about a lock for my door, like the kind white girls had at school or in shows, the ones who shout stuff like, haven't you ever heard of privacy? Private comes from the past participle of Latin's privare, to bereave or deprive. My mind was a deprivation to our family. A depravity my mother saw up close just once. Phone left stinking on the cushion. Those texts to Ethan filled with bitch and slut and plans to snake to Jersey Pride and all our teen filth. Shit talk between sisters turned dossier in her palm. She warned she'd tell him, so we fought. Her body blocked mine at the stairs top as I tried to run out the door. You're pushing me in jabs from her lips over and over, so the only way out was through blood. I gave in, and once again, she said nothing when my father came. She loves nothing more than her boys. Dreams of a private, grown gay life dashed pink salt hope across those years. But now, when I pronounce Bottega Veneta near my phone mid-chat, the ads rain like flies that just got zapped. Nude photos of me cling to their storage, even as expecting to be knifed loose. I learned to flirt with surveillance, accept its zoomed in views and cyber breath down my back, and that this is our life, that they're dead, all those dreams. My mother scanned my phone, now my phone scans me. Okay, so the next one, thanks y'all. The next one is called Second Father. We grew up with 2 fathers, both married to our mother. One lived in gym sweats and white socks around the house, while the other was never home, out working in scrubs or button-ups at job number 1 or 2. The former was moody, the latter a joy, and both loved telling us this joke. Pete and Repeat were sitting on a bench. Pete fell off. Who was left? We grew up with 2 fathers our mother married. One seemed so gentle, so loving. He was named godfather again and again to about 10 different babies through the years. The other smashed windshield glass to spider silk cracks by hand when his boys wouldn't stop joking one night. And both of them told it the same. Pete and Repeat were sitting on a bench. Pete fell off. Who was left? Two of our fathers married our mother. The first only knew how to argue with fists and once with foot, punting the air from Cal's stomach. The other would help all who asked. Outsiders didn't know the first, as he only let us see him. And after each snap, he wept on our heads, then laid in his bed with both selves. All right, and I got just one more for y'all. Thank you. This one is kind of about my beef with POC, which has its uses, but it's also, well, I'll just read the poem. The poem is called Black Erasure. Nina Simone sang, POC is the color of my true love's hair. And they say, POC, don't crack. And let us bless cornbread, collard greens, and POC-eyed peas, and POC weddings where the grooms jumped. And Inez Smith wrote, and even the POC guy's profile reads, sorry, no POC guys. And to flirt, guys have asked if I'm POC where it counts. And remember outcry over POC Rue in the Hunger Games, POC Hermione, POC James Bond, POC Spider-Man and Mary Jane. And when cops kneel on top of POC folks' necks, the autopsies can lie and blame underlying conditions. And POC lives matter to the masses for about a week at a time. And bulbs of POC joy bloom ceaselessly from dirt terror. And there's at least 26 new ways of looking at a POC bird by now with all this high tech. And did you know one of the darkest known substances, the lab-made Vanta POC, absorbs 99.96% of natural light? Ideal burial checklist. Coffin in that color, POC orchids all over, a few berry seeds plopped upon my plot, some of the raz variety, most POC, and let there be POC singers music for y'all to freak to at the after party. Please change out those POC funeral rags into something fun, something that swans when you sway, please. Pour them drinks high, but not so high you POC out. And pretty please, have fun. Remember that in all my POC ass life, I had a good time, really. I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Yo, give it up one more time for Kyle Lopez.
Incredible.
Absolutely. That last poem, I haven't heard that one before, and I just feel really moved. That was an incredible poem. Thank you for all three poems, Kyle. Our next poet is Sofía Snow. Sofía Snow is a powerhouse. Sofía Snow is a Boston-raised multimedia artist, educator, and organizer. Her work has been featured in a range of publications, television, and theater, including the Boston Globe, Cosmopolitan, American Girl, WWE Network, the Public Theater, and elsewhere. Sofía is currently the director of the Office of Multicultural Arts Initiatives, home to the Cutting Edge First Wave program, the world's first and only full tuition scholarship program for hip hop and urban arts at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. You can find her at Sofía Snow on Twitter and Instagram. Please, y'all, wherever you're at, put your hands together for Sofía Snow.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the digital love and the intro. I appreciate y'all. I feel so nervous to share, but Kyle, thank you for sharing those pieces, bars purely, and I'm loving just this opportunity for us as Latinx folks to really explore and interrogate our various diasporic identities within the culture. So shout out to Mijente for making this space. Shout out to José and Jonathan and Sofía Campos and my sister, Vanessa Snow, for allowing me to come in here and share some pieces. I'm just gonna straight up read out this book, which is pretty straightforward, and a bonus little track that goes with the pieces in this book. As nervous as I was to share, my sister was texting me before this, naturally as she does, to let me know that this time together is really medicina, and that a lot of folks, especially on this call throughout Mijente, have been out in the streets fighting for Black lives, fighting for human rights, and at this time it's just really for us to interrogate who we are as a people, but also to celebrate who we are. And I'm really just honored to be a part of Mijente, you know, to celebrate also my sister, who has been doing organizing work from jump. She's why I decided to be involved in the community. And so I'm gonna read some pieces that are for my mom, but they're also for my sisters. And yeah, so these are in LatiNext, cop at Haymarket, fuck Amazon all day. We don't fuck with Amazon.com, okay? But also follow Haymarket on Twitter because they have the best content. So that being said, poems for Lily. I'm gonna stop talking and get these poems. This is number one. In my mother's kitchen, you're lucky if you have free reign over the refrigerator. Slightly colder than lukewarm and always in constant need of repair. Here, my mother tells you where she keeps sweat to make sure it doesn't rot. The milk in the bottommost shelf of the freezer, the cheese in the crisp produce drawer, the chicken abandoned in the basement icebox. Once an outdoor back porch covered in grapevines, now an extension on stilts, making space for a full-size oven. A risky renovation, unbeknownst and unapproved by the city, and just like that, home, out of thin air. When my sisters and I laugh at the ways we have to keep the water lightly running all winter so the bare pipes below us don't burst, or have to keep the kitchen door ajar so the whole house doesn't fog, she says, girls, with an accent thicker than the insulation of the floor beneath us. All my life, all I've ever wanted was a home with a few flowers in a small plot of land, and look where you're standing. So that's the first piece. The poems that I submitted for LatiNext, I feel like I've been writing about my mom and my family for a long, long time. And even when I read these pieces, you know, I edit them as I perform them again, even from what's published, because I feel like, especially as like first generation Americans, there's this cultural difference sometimes that is hard to grapple with because of white supremacy, because we're taught that there's a norm of citizenship, that there's a norm of being a human being or being in family. And so I think what's beautiful about poetry, and it's just about the constant practice of writing, is I've gotten to investigate my own thoughts about what is the norm, what is acceptable, what is laughable, what is an accent. So I'm just sharing these pieces because I mean, I'm glad that they live in this text with all these other voices to celebrate our differences and the interrogation that I'm facing every day. So this is number two. Lelia is a woman of routine. She speaks to us through her practice, her rhythms, her permissions, and her quita de allí. She speaks to us in what she does and does not allow. No instruction when she cooks, just Espérate, give that back, you're doing it wrong. In whose home can we afford to burn the carne? We learn no lesson is worth the hunger. There are no second chances for you or apologies from her, just a silence sewing up our tongues before we could unravel our mouths. We were a home of no repeated mistake, daughters of you gon' learn the first time. No direction given, only taken. She raised the pride of lionesses. We study before we hunt. We track before we touch. When I am asked why I am so careful or why the calculation takes so long, my only answer is my mother raised us to know some women don't have the luxury of fucking up the first time. We are her pride. Thank you. That's number 2. Appreciate you. So this last piece is number 3 of poems from my mama in this book. But it actually has like a little accompanying song to it. This poem in number 3 is actually just like the ending poem of this song. So I'm gonna share a little bit of the verse of that song and end with this poem and pass it off to the next, because there's some really incredible poets tonight. So this last piece is called Take Her Home. And it goes a little something like this. Never complains when her plate's on overload. You may not bite the hand that feeds, but will you love her though? When she crashes, she can drown you in her undertow. Many know she's looking for respect, but will you love her though? Will you love her though? Everything she does it best and does it better. She packs the bags or pays the bills depending on the weather, but it's never a whether or not, whether we like it or not. She found a way to keep the lights on whether we had it or not. She carries your weight, his weight, her own head up, ahead of every wave, even when the rain don't let up. She gets up when she falls, responds to every call. She's on it because she's longing to make sure you got it all. She got it all and she's all yours. Clean the floor on all fours, all force with a dash of sweet again. Nothing to compete against. Taught you mistakes, make a lesson, don't repeat again. Unless it's needed, then just don't break your neck, she say. And don't forget respect, she say. Wipe the blood from your knees, the tears from your eyes. Salt in the wound, just a blessing in disguise. She never complains when her plate's on overload. You may not bite the hand that feeds, but will you love her though? When she crashes, she can drown you in her undertow. Many know she's looking for respect, but will you love her though? You'll claim you'll never put no one above her, so she's waiting and debating to see if you'll ever love her though. She raised us to know she could take it on her own, but someone gotta take her home. Ever since my mother planted herself here, she has this thing with gardening. She grows the unlikeliest flower and somehow keeps it alive. There's something about a woman who never lets a seed die, who knows how to prune enough to grow things tall. And although pruning has never made sense to me, she understands it so well. Cut and slice and chop off the pieces that just might die, bloom faster, wider, stronger. My mother is the type of woman who has her own methods for compost. She throws all her used peels in a small patch of dirt known as her yard. She has her own method to it. She knows that dead things make for rich soil, and she's bubbling over with roots she has to ground somewhere. I wonder what border she thought she was crossing. I wonder if she knew her skin held her own and only honey, a sweetness to feed us all. I wonder if she knew when she traded continents, how much of home she would have to make with her own hands, how brown girls are beautiful but not lovely, how much she would have to cross and sweeten and bury and plant and prune and let die and let die and let die just to stay alive. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Cop LatiNext, fuck Amazon. Shout out to Hate Market. Shout out to all y'all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sophia. That was so amazing. It's so good to see you. It's so good to hear your poems. You can follow Sophia at Sofía Snow on Twitter and Instagram. Up next, we have Gabriel Cortez. Gabriel Cortez is a Black biracial poet, educator, and organizer of Panamanian descent. His work has appeared in the New York Times, National Public Radio, Huffington Post, The Rumpus, and the BreakBeat Poets Anthology, Volume 4, LatiNex. You can learn more about him at GabrielMCortez.com and follow him at Gabriel M. Cortez. Everybody show some love in the chat for Gabriel Cortez.
Oh, the love is felt. Thank you so much, y'all. Shout out to my folks that went before me. And shout out to the organizers of this event, for real. Like, it's my first time actually getting to cross paths with Mijente, and this is beautiful. Like, I love how y'all are centering the work. Can't wait to be part of this community activist. So I got this first piece. Jose was just like, yo, you're representing the West Coast, so you better bring some West Coast shit. So this is a piece, it's called Smoke and Rain in the Bay at the Turn of the Decade. And it's after the amazing organizers, Black women, mothers out of Oakland named Moms for Housing. When the kids ask me what the fuck I did when the world was billowing enough smoke to circumnavigate the planet and then return to kiss the still burning fire that conjured it, I will say I lived outside a city with clean air scratched into the sides of screaming buses. Heavy starlings had reached towards a wire ceiling sky with two bone wings trolling behind them that sparked every now and then, dropping ashes on the folks' public transportation lines were built to displace. The T-train stays 30 minutes late. My theory of why the Bayview's still Black is also my theory of how to preserve a soul in the age of capitalism, colored people time, required I show up last to the meeting with my hair coiffed to the side and all my family texted back. So this morning, my alarm clock adjusted itself 3 times in disagreement with its ambitions the night before. The curtains don't want to open today. The deadbolt gripped the doorframe the way a mother might hold their child when tanks come rolling through the hood, aiming AR-15s behind eviction notices. Last night, it rained, which means 1, we reset the countdown on 1 hillside mansions once again go up in flames, and 2, the mattress, the couch cushions, the printer box, the luggage case, the bookshelf, the books, the blankets, the portable heater, the styrofoam cups of dehydrated noodles, the Fisher-Price playset, the children, the stroller, and the Black mothers that pushed them, thrown out their houses onto the sidewalk like a civil rights activist at a whites-only counter got rained on too. And still they showed up to the rally, babies hoisted upon the waist, crying, trying to pronounce a word like repair, like reparations. Hey, shout out to Moms for Housing. I've been thinking a lot, since this pandemic started about this poem by Franny Choi called The World Keeps on Ending and the World Goes On, and just the ways we can just count the different apocalypses our people have been going through and that are like just layered on top of each other in that intersectional way it be happening. And shout out to them, for real. They've been fighting for housing for folks like even before the pandemic. It's even more crucial now. So if we got some funds, hit them up and support. So yeah, y'all, man, I love every time I get to crack this thing open and just to see this fly pink book on my bookshelf. I'm like, 1, I'm like, I made it. And 2, it's just like, what a dope just squad, community to really call family and be alongside. So here's a little poem. I don't know if Willie got to make it onto the call yet or if he's still in traveling, but he helped me with this piece. And it's called Fat Joe at the 9th grade dance. My niggas don't dance. We just pull up our pants and hug ourselves. And we are sure no one else will. We cradle the gangly architecture puberty left us, 5 feet 10 inches of ash and bone and the most crisp white tees our mother's ironing boards could conjure. Fists clenched around any baseline that promises to swell our sharp elbows a suit of armor. Because ever since Ty got armpit hair, it started flexing muscles that even make the teachers look twice. Ever since we grew taller than our girlfriends and thought ourselves men. Ever since Maria got pregnant and Jeremy got his teeth kicked in and we saw them break like dice across the school parking lot. Ever since then, my niggas don't smile. My niggas don't dance. My niggas square up. My niggas carve Ona and Radius into sword and shield. My niggas turn quiet survival tactics cacophony each time we lean back. Hey. Yeah, I don't love Fat Joe, but I like the chorus, That's just me. I feel like he's got some work to do on his, politics around Blackness and stuff like that. But thank you for the alley-oop, Fat Joe. I got a new piece for y'all. Since we're on Zoom and we can see each other, like, yo, let me get a thumbs up for the new piece. All right, some of y'all don't want it. John's down with it. Shout out to John. Okay. So this is new. I never read this before. But yeah, thinking about Blackness and thinking about my particular experience and thinking about colorism and how my experience is just distinctly different than my mother's experience of Blackness. So yeah, this is a piece thinking about that and just video calls with my mama too. So it's called Video Call with Mom, 7 weeks in the Pandemic. She holds me in her hands. My mother, not my mother, but light and chemicals stilled into memory. Sepia, wallet-sized. What shade of brown did the film call her neck then? Single mother blues. Summer love, baby. My face, not my face, but looking as I must have, moonlight against the summer night of her cheek. I sit beside my mother, 3,000 miles between us. She holds me, not me, in her hands, cradling the camera phone like a baby's soft head. She wants me to see her new hair. When I say my screen locks, I mean permed braids reach towards the sliver of metal pressing our cheeks together again. A light to blink notifies me this is where natural hair grows from. The world shakes until my mother disables it. I hold the phone so she can see that it's day here. She flicks a switch 30 years behind us, illuminating a room only she knows to pronounce home, a city we flee before my first teeth come in. I wonder now her worry. Black mother nursing a white child, half a country from family, a decade before the repeal of anti-miscegenation law. Before the sun proved us kin and summer developed my Black into a cooked husk of a question mark, people assumed she was my babysitter. I see it now. Video call with mom, 7 weeks in the pandemic. My face, not my face, but a wilting shade of yellow. Couldn't be hers. My mama's Black endures. My mother's Black survives the end of the world. Hey. And I got one more piece. I'm so sorry if I'm going over time. Y'all gotta let me know if it's like, nah, bro, that was 7 minutes. You got to stop. Okay, it's cool. Okay, one more. Out of the breakbeat joint. Pow. Here we go. I'm gonna end y'all on some weird stuff. This piece, it looks like this. It's a contrapuntal, so it's like 3 poems in one. So I'm gonna just read it down. It's called Black on Both Sides. Yeah. 1. Child of God, mother dressed for praise dance, like Sunday's best, big hat in every color. We listened to gospel on the Sabbath in prayer. What held us around the table? Was it faith or an older dread? Grandma's skin so pale at her funeral, we knew she wasn't there, but home amongst the angels. 2. Rice and peas and a bird sealed in oil. Brown skinned plátanos cooked sweet, a cabinet full of condensed sugar. Grandma's patties, fingertips pinched the dough shut like a wound learning to heal. Between our hands, thighs, breasts, wings, white meat. The table full when the aroma called us to eat before our eyes. 3. Child of rice and peas and God, a bird sealed in oil. Mother dressed brown skin for praise dance. Plátanos cooked like sweet Sunday's best, a cabinet full of big hats condensed in every color, sugar. We listened to Grandma's Patty's gospel on the Sabbath, fingertips pinched in prayer. What held the dough shut? Us around the table like a wound. Was it faith or learning to heal an older dread between our hands? Grandma's skin, thighs, breasts, wings so pale, white meat at her funeral. We knew the table full when she wasn't there, but the aroma called us home to eat amongst the angels before our eyes. Thanks, y'all. Can't wait to hear the rest of the folks sharing, and yeah, blessed to be amongst y'all in community. Peace.
Yo, thank you for those poems, Gabriel. So right now we're gonna take like a very quick intermission. We got Jonathan Mendoza, Sofía Campos from Mijente. They're gonna come on real quick to tell you about some of the campaigns that Mijente is involved with right now, because you know the uprising is not over. It's never over, and this moment is asking us to continue to be involved in different ways. So please listen and get involved. So here are Jonathan and Sofía.
Hey everyone, my name is Jonathan Mendoza. I am a Chicago-based organizer, educator, and poet. I'm also a proud Mijente member. I'm also very proud and happy to be in the LatiNext book. I just want to share really briefly that I've been a member for Mijente for, it's coming on like 2 years now, almost 2 years. And some of the folks in this very space were the people who like brought me in. So it's like with a lot of pleasure and honor that I do the same for other folks here. I think I've been really grateful for Mijente to be a space with such incredible organizers, artists, human beings who have been able to support me and just like each other and have this really robust network of amazing, brilliant people who are down for radical liberation in a way that's like really impactful. So I think we're seeing like some of the changes, some of the momentum that some groups like Mijente are carrying through, and it's been an honor to be a part of that. So I definitely encourage y'all to join. This group has been one that really places the values at the front. So being pro-Black, pro-queer, pro-migrant, pro-worker, pro-mujer, like so many values that unfortunately we sometimes don't see in other sectors. So I encourage y'all to join, especially artists. It's been a joy to see like the creativity that comes from artists in mass movements like this, not just for like creating art, but also for like the strategy and the piecing together of the movement itself. So yeah, if you have any questions, hit me up. But other than that, I don't know what else to say. I could go on and on, but yeah, go to mijente.net and click that join button if you feel so inclined. I'm gonna pass it off to Sofía to talk some more about the campaigns.
So thank you. Oh, man, there's so much that we could say in this moment, but I want to focus on a few things on how Mijente is showing up. We are pushing campaigns locally to defund the police. We have a training coming up in early July to support folks who are interested in learning about what that demand means. So we're going to start off a crash course in partnership with Dream Defenders, Sunrise, Southerners on New Ground, really dope organizations that we partner up with, and we're going to be following that up with a more specific Latinx training to make sure that our folks feel supported in leading those campaigns locally on the ground, right? We also have a petition on Univision and Telemundo to demand that they cover Black Lives Matter in Español también the right way, without any anti-Blackness. We want them to hold a town hall on police violence to make sure that our communities are educated on this topic, to make sure they understand the history that this carries in this country. And so please sign the petition to make sure that they feel the pressure. And we also just had a really big event with Edward Snowden, Naomi Klein on the surveillance pandemic that we are also facing in this moment, but also for a long time as organizers, as activists. Unfortunately, many companies have been partnering up with the government in order to provide our data, misuse our data, share our data with the cops, with ICE, for them to target our Black and brown bodies. And so we're demanding that those collaborations stop and that we hold those companies and their CEOs and their workers accountable to make sure that our data is not misused and misappropriated. So I encourage y'all to check out that conversation with Edward Snowden, Naomi Klein on our Facebook page, and learn more about how you can plug in. We can also, again, offer up support, organizing support. If you're an activist, organizer, also support with how to just protect your own information and how to do this work, you know, as securely as possible in these times. So those are just a few of the campaigns that we are involved in. There's a lot happening. Oh, and if you're not on mute, I encourage you to go on mute. There's a lot happening across the country, and we have both national campaigns, but also support our local círculos to make sure that folks are doing the work that's needed in their community. Okay. So with that, we shared the join link in the chat, but if you are Latinx, Chicanx, and share these values, please do plug in. If you have any questions, you can hit up Jonathan or myself, and we can get you those answers that you need. So appreciate you, and I'll pass it back to José and Melissa.
Cool. So make sure you check out mijente.net/join. The link is in the chat. you know, if we were all in the same room, I'd be like, yo, if you're ready to hear some poems, let me hear you say yeah. But of course, that doesn't really work, right? Be like,
Yeah.
you ready to defund the police? Let me get a thumbs up reaction emoji. You know what I mean? It's not the same, but we know what's up. And coming up next, we have an incredible poet. I'm gonna pull up the bio so I can make sure I hit all of the proper, you know, accomplishments, because he's accomplished everything. So coming up next is John Murillo. John Murillo is incredible. His latest book is Contemporary American Poetry. And here's the official bio. John Murillo is the author of the poetry collections Up Jump the Boogie from Cipher Books 2010, and which is a finalist for both the Kate Tufts Discovery Award and the Penn Open Book Award, and Contemporary American Poetry from Four Way Books 2020. It's a really hard time for new books, so make sure you support John Murillo and get Contemporary American Poetry. I've read it 3 times already. It's an incredible book. The son of an African-American father and a Mexican mother, poet and playwright Murillo grew up in Los Angeles. He attended Howard University and New York University. Now he is an assistant professor of English at Wesleyan University and also teaches in the low residency MFA program at Sierra Nevada College. Learn more at www.johnmurillo.com. Please, y'all, wherever you're at, put your hands together for John Murillo.
Hey, can y'all hear me? Word. Man, thank you. Thank you, Mijente. Thank you, curators and editors of LatiNext, for inviting me to be part of this. Thank you for everyone who's read so far and who will still read. It's cool to put a face with the names and the poems that I've been digging for so long, so that's been dope. And thank you for everybody who's shown up here. I want to put in gallery view so I can see all those faces. Nah, that's intimidating. I'm about to go back to speaker view. it's a lot of y'all motherfuckers here. But yo, this is dope, man. It's Friday night. It's a lot of readings going on, these Zoom things happening right now, so that you guys are here with us. We really appreciate y'all. So word. I'm gonna read one poem only, but I write really, really long poems. So stay with me. This poem has what's called a bleeding title. So the title just kind of bleeds into the text. So I'll read the title, which is pretty much the first line, and then I'll just go. And I won't say too much more about it. My wife says I say too much to introduce this poem. So I'll just let the poem do its work, yeah? Upon reading that Eric Dolphy transcribed even the calls of certain species of birds. Okay, I'll say something. Eric Dolphy is a jazz musician, right? And one of the things I read about him was that he likes to, well, he's dead now, but he used to transcribe bird calls because he said there was something really pure, really earnest in their song that he wanted to get into his own music, right? So that's Eric Dolphy. Upon reading that Eric Dolphy transcribed even the calls of certain species of birds, I think first of 2 sparrows I met when walking home late night years ago in another city not unlike this. The one bird frantic, attacking I thought the way she swooped down, circled my head and flailed her wings in my face. How she seemed to scream each time I swung. How she dashed back and forth between me and a blood-red Corolla parked near the opposite curb. How finally I understood. I spied another bird, also calling, his foot inexplicably caught in the car's closed door, beating his whole bird body against it, trying, it appeared, to bang himself free. And who knows how long he'd been there, flailing. Who knows? He and the other I mistook at first for a bat. They called to me. Something between squawk and chirp, something between song and prayer, to do something, anything. And like any good God, I disappeared. Not indifferent exactly, but with things to do, and most likely on my way home from another heartbreak. Call it 1997, and say I'm several thousand miles from home, by which I mean those were the days I made of everyone a love song, by which I mean I was lonely and unrequited. But that's not quite it either. Truth is, I did manage to find a few to love me, but couldn't always love them back. The Rasta law professor, the firefighter's wife, the burlesque dancer whose daughter blackened drawings with M's to mean the sky was full of birds the day her daddy died. I think his widow said he drowned one morning on a fishing trip. Anyway, I'm digressing. But if you asked that night, did I mention it was night? Why I didn't even try to jimmy the lock to spring the sparrow? I couldn't say truthfully that it had anything to do with envy, with wanting a woman to plead as deeply for me as these sparrows did, one for the other. No, I'd have said something instead about the neighborhood itself, the car thief shot a block and a half east the week before, or about the men I came across nights prior, sweat slicked and shirtless, grappling in the middle of the street, the larger one's chest pressed to the back of the smaller, bruised and bleeding both. I know you thought this was about birds, but stay with me. I left them both in the same street where I'd leave the sparrows, the men embracing, and for all one knows, they could have been lovers. The one whispering an old, old tune into the ear of the other, baby, baby, don't leave me this way. I left the men where I'd leave the sparrows and their song. And as I walked away, I heard one of the men call to me, please, or help, or brother, or some such. And I didn't break stride, not one bit. It's how I've learned to save myself. Let me try this another way. Call it 1977 and say I'm back west, South Central Los Angeles, my mother and father at it again, but this time in the streets, broad daylight and all the neighbors watching. One, I think his name was Sonny, runs out from his duplex to pull my father off. You see where I'm going with this. My mother crying out, fragile as a sparrow. Sonny fighting my father, fragile as a sparrow. And me, years later, trying to get it all down. As much for you, I'm saying, as for me. Sonny catches a left, lies flat on his back, blood starting to pool, and his own wife wailing, my mother wailing, and traffic backed now half a block, horns, whistles, and soon sirens. 1977 summer, and all the trees full of birds, hundreds, I swear. And since I'm the one writing it, I'll tell you they were crying. Which brings me back to Dolphy and his transcribing. The jazz man, I think, wanted only to get it down pure, to get it down exact. The animal racking itself against a car's steel door, the animals in the trees reporting, the animals we make of ourselves and one another, flailing, failing, stay with me now. Days after the dust up, my parents took me to the park, and in this park was a pond, and in this pond were birds, not sparrows, but swans. And my father spread a blanket and brought from a basket some apples and a paring knife. Summertime. My mother wore sunglasses and long sleeves. My father, now sober, cursed himself for leaving the radio But my mother forgave him and said as she caressed the back of his hand that we could just listen to the swans. And we listened, and I watched. Two birds coupling, one beating its wings as it mounted the other. Summer 1977, I listened and watched. When my parents made love late into that night, I covered my ears in the next room, scanning the encyclopedia for swans. It meant nothing to me, then at least. But did you know the collective noun for swans is a lamentation? And is a lamentation not its own species of song? What a woman wails punch drunk in the street, or what a widow might sing learning her man was drowned by swans? A lamentation of them? Imagine the capsized boat, the panicked man struck about the eyes, nose, and mouth each time he comes up for air. Imagine the birds coasting away and the waters suddenly calm, either trumpet swans or mutes, the dead man's wife running for help, crying to any who listen, a lamentation, and a city busy saving itself. I'm digressing, sure, but did you know that to digress means to stray from the flock? When I left my parents' house, I never looked back, by which I mean I made like a god and disappeared, as when I left the sparrows and the copulating swans, as when someday I'll leave this city, it's every flailing, it's every animal song. Thank you.
Whoa. Whew. Okay, what a joy to hear you read, John. It was an honor being under your instruction 4 years ago at Bona. You taught us all what bleeding title meant in the chat, and 4 years ago at Bona, I learned what enjambment meant under your instruction. So thank you for making me a better poet, and thank you for blessing us today. We are coming. Is this our last poet? I think so. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I have the pleasure of introducing Amanda Alcántara. Amanda Alcántara is a Caribbean writer and journalist. She is the author of Chula, which came out last year. Her work has been featured on the anthology LatiNext Struggles and Protests in 21st Century USA, the poetry anthology LatiNext, and several media publications like NPR's Latino USA, Remezcla, Afrofemininas, the San Francisco Chronicles, and others. In 2017, she obtained an MA, Master's from NYU in Latin American and Caribbean Studies, where her thesis focused on the experience of women residing near the border of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. She is also co-founder and previous editor of La Galeria magazine. A map of the world turned upside down hangs on her wall. You can follow her at yosoy_Amanda. Everybody, give it up for Amanda. Thank you.
Yay! Hi. I feel like I'm like a little overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, this has been it's really been beautiful to listen to everybody's poems, and I'm just really grateful to be here. Mijente is the real deal. So, you know, when José Olivarez sent that email like, hey, we're doing this thing with Mijente, I was like, hell yeah, I am in there. Like, what? So I'm really, really grateful to be here. Because I'm the last person, I also want to say, you know, thank you to, well, because I'm the last person, but also because like I'm me. I also want to say thank you to the organizers. Thank you to Melissa and to Jose. Thank you to Sophia and Jonathan and just everyone who helped put this together. And thank you to all of you who are here, right? We have 61 people on this thing right now, and that's not looking at YouTube, which I am going to ignore so I don't get extra nervous. So I'm gonna be reading 4 poems. It might be 3, like I'm gonna gauge how I'm feeling by the end of the second one, but they're really short. And yeah, the first one is from the book, LatiNext, so it's the one that is published in the book, and it's really like an introductory piece about myself. And the other ones, I wrote all of them during the pandemic, like they're brand new. So you're all gonna be witnessing me reading those for the first time. So, all right. Whew. Nunca seré fina, pero tampoco soy sencilla. Bailando reggaetón desde niña, liberación en las marquesinas. I'm a Libra, catch me in la esquina, spreading flyers, handing out ideas. Dudes trying to look back at it like I'm Trina, lip gloss popping, call me Leodita. La revolución va tan encendida, fuego en la cintura y fuego en la oligarquía. Soy puta pero picky, call me fresita. Sebo más rico que el postre su marida. Los pongo en cuclilla a comer de gratis, así le lleno la barriga. Now you can call me Mother Teresa. But for real though, let me like reintroduce myself. Yo soy Amanda Alcántara, con acento en la A, la palabrista, la que te hacía llamar latina, la que confunden de niña teniendo de reina la pinta, la que se inventa frases porque vive entre 2 lenguas y 5 vidas, hija, hermana, puta, santa y amiga. Y bésame la mano que también soy tu madrina. La que se ve buena aunque no corre ni una milla. That bitch you hate because you assume she's problematic, but she's still about freedom. Más que Frida, yo soy de las artes de autocrítica. Tú te crees woke, pero sigues a las masas. Yo sigo a la vida. I'm the spirit to your sprite, electricity para tus pilas. The one that hits you a escondidas y cuando se va, se siente. Emotional diva, unconventional lyricista, underestimated leader. Watching me walk away es un privilegio para tus ojos y un deseo para tu boquita. Y me prefieren muerta porque mi boca es muy grande para sus ideas vendidas, pero esta rosa no se marchita, call me Margarita. Y te lo repito por si se te olvida. Nunca seré fina, pero tampoco soy sencilla. Okay. I feel like I'm being that quiet, like I want to hear y'all, but I can't. All right, so the second one, I kind of like to dive right into the poems, but I do want to give some background on this one. This one is about being a Black woman and the ways in which la cultura, like people love our culture and people love everything about Black women except us and except our bodies, right? Like they love our things and other people, but not ourselves. Yeah, so God, make me into a painting and place me in an obscure hallway in a museum where only lonely art lovers go, and use the most vibrant shade of amber for my skin and clear crystals for my irises, and hang me at the eye level of those whose souls are young and wise and thirsty for life, so that I may be not immortal, but eternal, like a Sunday morning in the arms of a lover, so that my light may still shine on humanity and its despair and its lost creatures without making me its victim. All right, this next one is called Isolation. I'm gonna show y'all what it looks like. So that's the title, Isolation. Yeah, and this one is about being isolated because of the coronavirus. So, all right. So I'm saying that with a smile, but I obviously understand like this was a scary time, you know. So yeah, I'm just a little bit nervous. So okay. Isolation. I, the sun, in search of the light within, when outside screams danger. As a woman, the outside's never been safe for me. Loneliness feels comforting. Now, the only catcalls I hear come at 2 a.m. They keep me up while I lie in bed, news clips still fogging my sleep. They scream outside my window, thorns ripping their insides, the meowing creatures of the night, the original tigres. As vines strangle concrete boxes we've turned into homes. The first day of spring came with a deadly pollen, with a promise to choke us, beginning with the already forgotten. I wonder if my lungs will drown in its yellow musk, or if it's the anxiety that won't let me breathe. Acceptance, sweet surrender, take vitamin D and turmeric for the inflamed heart, craving the warmth of those very lips that made me feel unsafe. Searching for the light within. This separation is unity while they gamble for the soul of this nation. I, soul nation. I, the sun. All right, and this is the last one. This one is, so right now there's sort of a new movement or like a revitalized movement that has started surrounding #MeToo and just women coming out of survivors. And this one is called For the Women Who Are Silent About Their Abuse. I know what it's like to have the pain of what happened grip you tight like a leather belt with its edges worn out. And once it's unbuckled, there's nothing to hold you, so you unravel and feel like water, constantly falling. And you learn to build a deep well for your pain and cope by adorning it with gold edges and rose petals and whispering tenderly into it and comforting it by saying, I'm strong because I survived this, and carrying it within the depths of your soul and letting it become an endless source of empathy. My wish for you is that you always find your way to the sea with its endless darkness, holding all of the world's deepest secrets, and release. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much, Amanda. That was really beautiful and perfect way to close out the night. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the night. Thank you so much, Amanda, John, Kyle, Sophia, Gabriel. You were all such amazing readers. Thank you to Mijente, to Sophia, Jonathan for helping organize, Jose, my co-host. Oh, can you hear me? You can. Okay. Yeah. Is there, Jose? Do you want to say anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you follow the artists and support them. Make sure you join Mijente and stay tuned for all of the actions, all of the organizing happening. Like I said, this is a moment to get involved. If you haven't gotten involved, you know, it's never too late. So get involved. And yeah, thank you so much to everyone. This was really beautiful. And I really appreciate you.
Yep. Yeah, thanks so much. This was really beautiful, really meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you all. I just had one plug real quick because we do have a little bit of wiggle room, and our electoral team will be mad if I don't mention it. We fight contra, sin y desde el Estado, so that's against, without, and from within the state. I mentioned some of our against the state campaigns. We are also running a strong Fuera Trump campaign, so y'all can check out fueratrump.com. Y'all already know what that man is about, what his administration is about, what his minions all over the place are about, and how they are attacking our people. If you don't, you can look into it, but we really need to get him all the way out. So we are running this campaign unapologetically. Again, you can learn more at fueratrump.com, but I had to put that little plug in and not let us close out without mentioning that piece too. And if you are an elected or know any pro pueblo electeds, we also endorse local, statewide, nationally, folks who are running with our pro pueblo values. So also wanted to share that piece of information in case you'll know any dope ass people that are considering running or are currently running for office. Yes, thank y'all for putting that in the chat. And that's it. Thank you, everybody.